Hello, I am back. I wanted to share one last thing for you. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. This is going to take every bit of 5 minutes, if that long. I wanted to share some of the other common supplemental documents that are usually sometimes, not always, but for your larger grant proposals you will have to provide some of this supplemental information and documents. Um, I've the larger, most all of the larger grant proposals that I've worked on and helped develop or develop, they required and even I had to submit, particularly if I was in the executive or management positions, the letters of commitment from the executive staff members that's going to be there. As a director, I had to submit that they would give me, a letter of commitment. I would have to sign off on it that I would be committed to work on that grant proposal, 100%. Because some of the grantors will require they'll give you what so far as time goes, whether that executive staff person they have to be full-time, whether the other, whether the people the staff has to be full-time or part-time. So you have to get those sometimes you have to get those letters of commitment from your executive staff members. Even from I've worked on projects where I had to get the letters of commitment from other like program managers, I think the assistant executive staff, management staff, or maybe even some of the other staff members. It just depends on what's being required by the grantor. Letters of support, this is very important. Um, Usually in most of the grant proposals, you want letters of support from key stakeholders and partners. I've always, there hadn't been a proposal that I've worked on that I haven't had to gather these and request letters of support from key stakeholders. And if they know you, they know what you do, they know what you're looking to do, they have no problem with giving you letters of support. Now, and this is the importance of relationships. If they don't know you now, they may not, but because they don't know you, they don't know if you're going to perform on that grant. And then their name is signed on that letter that they support you. So, but this is something else. We used to get them from our legislators, other key stakeholders in the community, so on and so forth. Our partners, they're more than happy to write the letters of support. Resumes, I would have to include those from key staff members that's going to be performing and working on the project. Historical statements and budget sheets is something that may be required if you are already in business. And sometimes you may have to get quotes for major purchases that you propose to make and developing timelines and schedules. Even though you have the metrics in the grant proposal, you still may have to do the timeline or the schedule in there as well in an Excel spreadsheet. And those are some of the supplemental documents that I know oftentimes are required, particularly in your larger grants. The smaller ones, not so much, not as much. But the larger ones, these are the ones that I've always saw that's required to go as a part of the package. Usually, too, you will have the narrative portion of your grant proposal package, your methodology that the methodology section of the grant proposal, and that's really what methods you're going to use to carry out this project, right? And then you will have your proposal part, which includes what we talked about earlier, your introduction, the who, what, when, where, how, your organizational background, all of that. Your methodology is what the task and the methods that you're going to use, the structure of the actual project, and the timeline, the metrics, all of that, and how you're going to evaluate it, so on and so forth. It'll have that part in there. Then it'll have so that's the proposal part, and then the cost proposal. Kind of sometimes it's a separate proposal and it just talks about your budget, right? And something else that I am going to include in here is the budget. While you tell them that we're going to have five, let's say 5 people, 5 staff positions, then they want you to write out a narrative, what they call the budget narrative, that match every line item that you say you're going to be purchasing or using the grant funds for. So if you have, let's say, equipment as a line item, and this is just in the budget cost proposal section of the grant proposal, right? And you have your budget of all your line items that you need to have the grant for. And let's just say one of those line items is the equipment, right? And let's say that the equipment cost to operate this project in this grant is, let's say, $50,000, right? So you have all of that laid out, and in the budget narrative, you're going to have a sentence or two as to what makes up that $50,000. Well, you may say equipment consists of 5 laptops, because you got 5 staff people, 5 laptops, 3 cell phones, 1 database. No, not database, because that's in the software. So that may be in other items, not necessarily equipment. I'm thinking of the major equipment. Let's say if you have to buy extra furniture and fixtures, they may allow that as a cost. But anyway, your budget narrative is going to speak to what makes up that $10,000. $50,000 includes the purchase of laptops or desktops or cell phones or other types of equipment that you need. So you just need to write it out. So those are the budget narratives that go with each one of the line items in your proposed budget for the grant. Because at the end of the day, this is what you need. You need the money. You need the money. So they want to see what you're going to use that money for. So you say it, but you may have several things grouped together in a budget line item, i.e. equipment, where you know that you're not going to spend $50,000 on one piece of equipment. So you're just going to tell them in a paragraph pretty much what you're going to be spending the equipment on. Let's say, I'm trying to use another example, travel. You may have travel as a line item in your budget. And just like you go grocery shopping, you write different things. So the same thing, your budget is your wish list of all the things you're not necessarily wish, but the things that you're gonna need to carry out this project. So you may have travel as a line item, and in your narrative, the travel may be $10,000. You might have travel proposed budget line item of $10,000 for travel. In your budget narrative, you may say that travel includes, of the 2 years that we're working on the project, travel may include 2 national conferences at $3,000 for 2 people. For the executive director and the assistant the executive director to travel to this national conference, in Texas. And it may be some other, and then let's say three or four thousand, let's say $6,000, $3,000 a piece for the two people to travel to the annual national conferences, and then you may have some local travel budgets outside of a certain, mile radius. If they go outside of the town, then you pay them the federal, usually it's based on the federal per diem, X number of cents per mile that they travel, or if they have to have overnight stay, then you're going to write that out in a narrative format. What makes up this travel dollar? That's your guesstimate. You may have gone and researched and, gotten some actual quotes from hotels and things like that. So you'll know exactly what you can expect to stay, because you're planning what needs to happen, where does the staff need to travel, as a part of this project, if there's some travel in it, from the executive director, to the program managers and other staff people, admin, so on and so forth. So you're going to, you most of the time, particularly in your larger grant proposals, you will have to put a budget narrative. You have the cost proposal with the budget, and then the budget narrative will explain what each one of the budgeted items are in that cost proposal, in those budget items. So how did you come up with those? And that's pretty much it. Other things that are included, you got marketing, marketing budget, and marketing will include the actual ongoing marketing that you're going to use, and actually the initial development of marketing material. We have vertical banners or horizontal banners. You have your website development. You have to think about the cost of paying somebody to develop your website. You may have somebody to keep up with your ongoing marketing. I know I've had that. I've hired the contractors, a lot of subcontractors in that budget. So you put that cost in there. What is it going to cost to get your marketing done? The things that you need to set up, your marketing, from your website, your brochures, your business cards, your brochures and flyers, to your banners and vertical banners and things like that. When you go to conferences, it could be something like a tablecloth. If you're going to events and things like that, you're going to take all of that marketing paraphernalia with you, but you need to budget that out in your budget, and then speak to that in the budget narrative. I think that, so it may be a few other variables. It depends on the grantor and kind of what they're going to ask for. But those are some of the common things that I have worked on and that I have seen as it relates to developing the grant proposal. So just want to share those with you, and I will have some samples, so that you can see those as well and download those as well. Thank you so much. And I want you to research too. I want you to research and organize, because at the end of the day, like I said, if you're an existing organization, just really diving into grant proposal development and things like that, you will have a lot of this stuff already ready, or you could easily access it or develop it. But if you are a new nonprofit and looking to develop a grant proposal, then you're going to do more research to go out and find examples and templates. But I'm here to help with all of that. All right. All right. Thank you so very much.